My most recent course that I took at Oxford was Philosophy of Mind. And in Philosophy of Mind, one of the most influential debates is whether machines can genuinely think or whether they just only appear to think. And in the 1980s, philosopher John Searle introduced very interesting argument that directly challenges the idea that intelligence is just a matter of producing the right outputs. His argument became known as the Chinese room experiment, and you might hear of it already. What makes it powerful is not the technical complexity behind, but how simple the idea actually is. Searle's basic claim is this: just because a system behaves as if it understands something, it doesn't follow that it actually understands anything. In other words, correct behavior alone is not enough for genuine understanding. To make this point, Searle asks us to, well, let's imagine a situation, right? Imagine a person locked inside a room. This person does not understand Chinese at all. Not a word, not a symbol. He never saw it before. He doesn't understand it's Chinese. Now imagine that Chinese characters are passed into the room through the slot in the door, like the post door. Inside the room, the person has very detailed rule book. Based on this rule book, tells them exactly how to respond to the symbols they receive. So it doesn't explain what the symbol mean, it just gives formal instructions like, if you see this symbol, write down that symbol. Very, very basic translation. So by carefully following the rules, the person produces responses in Chinese and sends them back out of the room. And here is the thing: to the people outside, everything looks perfect. The responses are fluent, they are indistinguishable from the responses of basically native Chinese speaker, right? So from the outside, it looks like the room understands Chinese. But here is the crucial point. Inside the room, there is no understanding at all, right? The person is not thinking in Chinese. They are not actually translating. They are not grasping meanings. They are simply manipulating symbols according to the rules, according to the rule book they got. So Searle argues that this is exactly what computers do on daily basis. Computers just manipulate symbols based on formal rules, based on syntax, but syntax alone does not produce meaning or semantics, right? So at the time, many researchers believed that if a machine could convincingly imitate intelligence behavior, then it should count as intelligent. And you heard about this as well. This idea goes back to the Alan Turing and the famous Turing test. According to this view, if you cannot tell whether you are interacting with a human or a machine, then the machine should be considered as intelligent. And here comes where Searle disagrees, right? Because he argues that imitation is not the same as understanding. A system can generate perfectly appropriate responses without having any awareness, comprehension, or some even experience at all. So, passing a test does not magically create a mind, right? The Chinese room is not just an argument about computers. We need to think that it is an argument about what understanding really is. And Searle is forcing us to confront this difficult question: is intelligence just the ability to follow rules and produce outputs? Or does it require something more, something internal, something special? If meaning is not present anywhere inside the system, then no amount of correct behavior can create it. So the Chinese room sparked really enormous debate. Some philosophers argue that Searle focuses too much on the individual inside the room and ignores the system as a whole. Others claim that understanding might emerge at the level of the entire process, not at the level of one person. And here Searle responds by saying that even if you internalize the entire system, memorize the rules, became the room, you still wouldn't understand Chinese. You would just be running a more complicated program. That's it. So the debate remains unresolved, but that is precisely why the third experience experiment is still discussed today. The Chinese room forces us to slow down and question assumptions we often take for granted. It reminds us that the intelligence is not just about producing the right answer, like some ChatGPT when you put it there. It's understanding, its meaning, and consciousness may involve something deeper than behavior alone, something that cannot be captured by rules or just by empty symbols. And whether Searle is ultimately right or wrong, his argument basically continues to shape how we think about minds, about machines, and the limits of artificial intelligence.